Your life begins to completely transform when you choose to be present with the little you. If you came out of an exceedingly traumatic childhood, the likelihood that your needs were met was very low. And the likelihood that you're actually living a life where you're choosing people and things that reinforce the lack of your needs being met in childhood is very high. To keep my own life boundaried and my own experiences boundaried just for the sake of this video, I'm going to talk about something that I think is very fascinating. Take, for instance, somebody that is being faced with an unhealthy situation in a relationship and they're being pressured to do something that they don't want to do. The fascinating thing is that this person that they're being pressured by is actually a perfect fit for the marring and scathing of their childhood. This pressure to do something that they don't want to do completely mirrors what was modeled for them in childhood. And so, with that, they actually learned to tie their self worth to external things. And they actually did a bunch of things that were dangerous because they thought that it would make them cool. They thought that it would make them stand out. They thought that it would make them be validated and approved of by people that actually lack healthy boundaries. The fascinating thing that I believe a lot of people don't understand is that in these moments when you are faced with the decision to either choose yourself, to sit with yourself, to sit with the little you that is present, or to give in to peer pressure, to give in to boundarylessness, to give in to violations, to give in to everything that you were used to growing up. It's just reminiscent of the past. It's reminiscent of all of the abuse, of all the boundary violations. And so, take for instance the person who chooses to sit with themselves in the moment where they're being peer pressured, and when they normally say yes, when they want to say no, they actually sit with themselves. They drown out all of the bullshit that whatever is being said to them is being said. The people around them just become objects of noise rather than resonance. And they actually tune into themselves. They're present with what their intuition is communicating to them. And as they're learning about intrinsic self worth, as they're learning about the fact that their worth is actually not tied to anyone or anything out there, and that instead they are free. They're free from all of this worry. They're free from, oh, I have to do all these things that I don't want to do to be liked by people because that's where my worth comes from. Imagine a moment which ends up becoming multiple moments and static as the foundation for your life, where you see yourself for what you actually are rather than what you've been trained to believe that you are. You may have been trained to believe that your worth is extrinsic and it's tied to a bunch of things and people out there. And the unfortunate part is that when that is the case, most often it becomes an unhealthy situation. Worth being tied to the external is completely backwards. But you look at the world, you look at social media, you look at society, you look at the way that a lot of people live. A lot of people live with their worth tied to the external. So the automatic program for the person who's being peer pressured, who thinks that his or her worth is out there, gives in. Yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then the inner voice says, but I don't want to. But what I want is to be accepted. What I want is to be validated. What I want is to be approved of. So take, for instance, the person who in that moment shuts down everything out there and just listens to themselves. Maybe they have some memories of times in their life when they were peer pressured and influenced to do things that they didn't want to do. They really sat with that. And then they asked themselves, what do I actually want? This thing that I've been used to this whole time in my life of chasing external validation and external worth, that's brought me back to the same thing of just chasing more and more. And I don't feel good about it. I don't feel healthy about it. Something feels off. Should I just continue this game of chasing things outside my entire life? Or is there something more to see here? Is there something knocking at my door that will help me to see that I don't have to continue running on this fucking hamster wheel that I'm now realizing is completely fucking exhausting. I don't think life needs to be this way. There are healthier directions to take, are there not? So then consider the person that says no, that recognizes that they just sat with their little self and their little self was like, and then you looked at the little self and you're like, oh, yeah, right. No, absolutely not. I won't do that. I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that. I've only done all of these things throughout my life because I've been trained to tie my self worth to the external, to you, to what you think about me and what you think about me. Because I've been codependent all these years, and how you see me is how I see me. Just example, by the way. And so then you actually sit with it. You sit with the fucking tension, something that's very challenging for a lot of people. Totally understandable. You sit with the tension of saying, no, I won't. But why not? Because I fucking said. No, period. Sit inside of that tension. And then realize that you're also not responsible for their emotions. See, this is the funny thing about this whole matter of sitting with the little you, is that there are layers to this game, this path, right? You say no, and then if they're healthy, they'll say, okay, no problem. If they're unhealthy, they'll probably shame you for saying no, or they'll try to guilt you into saying yes. They'll do a bunch of things. It's unhealthy, it's dysfunctional, and it is boundary violating. But, no. Period. No. You are sitting with the little you. Hey there, bud. Damn, it's been a long fucking time. Yeah, things have been fucking crazy. Yeah, I did what you asked me to do. We both agreed on that. I said no. You didn't want it, and I realized that I didn't either. I've just been chasing external validation this entire fucking time because I've learned to believe that my worth is somewhere out there, tied to a bunch of fucking things, and it's been exhausting. So I tuned in to you, and I'm really glad I fucking did. If you were raised in exceedingly traumatic circumstances, the likelihood is that you do not have healthy boundaries. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. It just makes it a lot more challenging for you to be congruent with what it is that you want and actually choosing what it is that you want. It's easier for you to be influenced, for you to be peer pressured, because if you did have healthy boundaries in place, you'd have absolutely no problem saying no. And the reality is your worth would not be tied to anything out there, so you'd be like, I don't give a shit. I don't want to. I'm not going to. Period. End of story. And if they try to push you anymore, well, not even that. You'd be out of there in a second. I'm very fascinated how much people that have healthy boundaries do not fuck with people that do not have healthy boundaries. Like, it gets as real as there are no ifs, ands, or buts. When you reach a certain level of emotional health, and with that, healthy boundaries, you just don't fuck with people that don't have healthy boundaries. Because they're a waste of time, because you already know that they're going to violate your boundaries. And the more you do this, the more you are present with the little you, the more you become aware of what it is that the little you needs, what the little you is communicating, the better you can do for yourself. And the even easier it gets to say no, because you already fucking know. Oh shit, wait a minute. None of my worth is tied to anything out there. I thought that it used to be, but now I'm realizing that it's not. And yes, previously I was running this hamster wheel of exhaustion and doing a bunch of fucking things that I didn't want to do, but now I have absolutely zero fucking anxiety around saying no. So I have absolutely no fucking problem with it. And I'm not gonna bat a fucking eye when you're like, oh, please, just do it for me. It'd be so fucking cool. You'd be so fucking cool. Everyone would like you. No. Period. And that is a full fucking sentence.